Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody, and sorry for the late. Well, we had some technical issues and at least it proved that we are live. Thank you all for joining us tonight for the first edition of the Sustainability 101 talk. My name is Jean-André and I am super happy to be here to learn more about sustainability with you. What does this notion that everybody heard about really mean? But before we start diving into sustainability, I would like to explain you a bit more the concept and who we are. Is it okay?
Non, c'est juste sur la page de la première page.
Welcome everybody. Sorry for the late. Well, we had some technical issue, but at least it shows that this is live. Okay, so thank you all for joining us tonight for the first edition of the Sustainability 101 talk. My name is Jean-André and I am super happy to be with you here tonight to learn more about sustainability. But before we start, I would like to explain a bit more the concept of the event and who we are. Sustainability 101 talk are events that aim to spread the basic but key concept of sustainability. And it is jointly organized by the EPFL unit Tech4Impact and the student association GEHT, Global Earth Horizon Talk. The Student Association GEHT is an association that explores how events can contribute to make our society more sustainable. We are currently a team of 29 students working hard to present new format like this one tonight. Tech4Impact, which is sitting at the Vice President for Innovation of EPFL, is the EPFL flagship program to promote sustainable technological solutions that aim to create a positive environmental and social impact. They are working with researchers, students, NGOs to create this sustainable impact through innovation. But before diving more into sustainability, we have a very special guest that will tell you more about Tech4Impact and how EPFL could contribute to a more sustainable future. Let me virtually introduce you the new Vice President for Innovation, Dr. Ursula Oesterle. Thank you very much for joining us.
So, welcome also from my side, and thank you for attending this event. This is the first event of a series of events. So first of all, I would like to thank the Student Association GEHT for having organized this and taken the initiative. Thank you. Now, as this is the first talk on sustainability, the topic is going to be mostly on what is sustainability. Ça marche? Now, Silvia will be talking about all the details of what sustainability is. But on a high level, sustainability is here to kind of address the needs of the present without compromising the needs of future generations. Now, when we talk about sustainability, we often think about environment, but actually it is much more. It is also economic and societal. Often we refer to it to the 3 Ps: planet, profit, and people. Not to forget people. For me, people is really key. Now, companies and countries are setting all these goals that we hear about all over the place and committing to, for example, zero waste packaging or reducing overall emission. The question is, how do we get there? That was a really, really big long-term challenges, and we have to think in the long term. And this is where all of you come in, because you're part of the innovation, student, entrepreneurial community. And entrepreneurial thinking and innovation are our best hope out of these crises and these big issues we have. So first of all, innovation builds on research, okay? EPFL is a goldmine of fantastic research, whether it's data, whether it's sensors, material, life science, you have it, okay? There's a lot of great research to build innovation on. Second of all is the entrepreneurial thinking. Now, without out-of-the-box thinking, crazy thinking, new ideas, we're not going to solve such big problems. But there's no shortcuts, okay? You have to understand the basic business essentials, because a sustainable business builds on basic business. So that's the first part you have to learn. But if you actually want to be successful from the sustainability side, you really have to make sure there's lots of creativity. And entrepreneurs are the people who are always looking for innovative ways to protect the environment or improve societal conditions. So you have the ideal case with a huge community of students and the staff, faculty at EPFL, plus all the research. We have the best ingredients to really address these challenges. So, and it is also you, the next generation, the younger generation, to think out of the box. We are all conditioned from old models we have. We need new models. We need new systems. So this is where to go. An interesting study actually showed that the most successful sustainable entrepreneurs have limited business knowledge because you need unorthodox thinking, critical thinking, out-of-the-box thinking, all the things you actually learn at EPFL. So you have a competitive advantage towards other people because you're bringing these skills. However, great social entrepreneurs, they have great people skills and empathy. And this is the soft skills that both the VPT and the VPI were offering you programs, both in soft skills and in hard skills, to actually develop this so you can become great, innovative entrepreneurs to address these things. So dream big and make those dreams a reality, because what got us here will not bring us to a smart, sustainable future. And with that, Silvia, please go into the details and help this community have a lot of impact on the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ursula, for this introduction word. Now, before welcoming our main speaker, I would like to explain how you, behind your screen, you can directly participate to the event. We are going to use two main tools. The first one is the Speak Up platform. You can ask a question at any time with it. You just download the app on your smartphone or just connect yourself with your computer to web.speakup.info. And once you're connected, you just need to enter the number of the room that appear at the bottom of the screen. It's 43857. And don't worry, I will repeat it at any moment. Something really cool about this platform is the fact that it is totally anonymous. You can see the question of others and vote for them. So in the end, we will have the opportunity to ask your question to the main speaker. Second, we will conduct some live polls. And to do that, we will use slido.com. Same way, you just connect with your phone or your computer to slido.com and you enter the number that will appear on the screen. It's 085532. I will show you again at the moment we will use it, don't worry. Now we are ready to ask yourself, what does sustainability even mean? What are the key concepts that we should know to understand a bit what is going on in the world today? To help us answer this question, we are lucky tonight to have an international development expert and environmental scientist from EPFL. So welcome, Dr. Silvia Hostettler.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. To kick off this session, I would like to show you a video. Our goal with the team was really to understand the need from the EPFL community. So we went on the campus to ask some general questions to the students. And I think we can watch together the answer of the students on the first video.
Commence.
C'est quelque chose qui dure. Donc quand je pense à durabilité, j'imagine qu'on parle du développement durable. Donc on parle de l'environnement, de l'économie et du social. Et l'objectif c'est d'allier les trois pour un meilleur futur.
Moi je dirais que c'est quelque chose qui peut durer dans le temps, une activité ou quelque chose qu'on construit qui peut être périn dans le temps.
Des matériaux qui vont pas endommager la planète, ou qui sont réutilisables, ou qui vont durer plus longtemps que ce qu'on peut faire actuellement.
Un nouveau mode de vie, quelque chose qui rompt avec le technocapitalisme d'aujourd'hui.
De la solidarité, responsabilité, de l'information.
Je dirais commerce local, de proximité, une utilisation plus intelligente d'énergie et le renouvelable.
Alors il me semble qu'il y a le pilier économique, social et...
pôle social, pôle économique et pôle écologique, pôle environnemental, écologique, etc.
So, I guess now you will have the difficult task to clarify all of this. Where would you like to start to tell us more about sustainability?
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think what's important to clarify in the beginning is that there are many people watching who are experts on sustainability, whereas the aim of this event is really to clarify some of the basic concepts. That's why it's called Sustainability 101. In order to start my talk, I chose a few pictures in order to illustrate the three main concepts of sustainability. So if you look at the images on the left, you have the natural environment, which is key, of course, society in the middle, and then moving towards the services and products that we need, illustrated through this image of cities. And maybe, as we will have quite a number of EPFL students watching this event, if you look at Gustav, who's using a high-tech ITC system in order to optimize irrigation water in Palestine, in order to see how you can engage with more sustainability in the future. And maybe just one last comment on that image is in the center, the 3 kids going to school in Nepal, meaning that sustainable development is really relevant at the global level as much in northern as southern countries.
Okay.
So if we go back to the original definition of sustainable development, that resulted out of the Brundtland report in 1987. It basically says sustainable development can be defined as development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So sustain means to maintain, to uphold, and to endure in the long term. The fundamentals of sustainable development rely on 3 pillars. They include economic efficiency, social equity and justice, and of course, environmental responsibility. And when
Okay, so I understand that there is this 3 dimension,
Sure.
Economic, environmental and social, but on this graph they are equally represented. I guess in reality this is not as simple. And what we can do maybe is to ask the audience what do they think, which dimension is the most important. So to do that, I will just welcome everybody to join slido.com for a live poll and join the number that you just connect on your computer or your phone on slido.com and enter the number you see on the screen, so 085532. I hope that there are still some present people due to the technical issue that we had. You just have now to answer this question. Which dimension do you think is the most important for sustainable development? Social, economic, or environmental? If you had any trouble with this, I just repeat, you just have to join us on slido.com and enter the number that you see appearing on the screen, 085532. Yes, we see the number of votes increasing. Yes, it means that there is still some people with us. This is really a great news for us. 4 votes. We will stay 30 seconds again. Yeah, okay, 5, 8 votes. Oh, actually, you're quite a lot, in fact. 10. It's really good to know that you are here. 12 votes. 15. Okay, this is really nice. I think that we can... Okay, there are still people answering. I let you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We quit the poll. So let's see the answer. Okay, actually it's quite diverse. We can see that people think mostly that either social or environmental dimension are the most important, and economic appear to be the one that is the less important for them. So can you say that this is right?
Well, I would say if we talk about bear survival, the natural environment is key, because obviously if we have no longer oxygen to breathe and food to eat and water to drink, we will actually die. So that dimension is certainly very key. But what we are trying to illustrate during this talk is that all three dimensions are equally important. And one of the images that comes to my mind when I think about sustainable development at the three pillars, it's almost like you're trying to juggle three balls while walking forward and not losing one of them while you do that. And you can imagine it's very easy to just say, oh, I'm just going to drop the environmental ball and keep on juggling with two, the social and the economic. And that will make it much easier for you, but maybe not for the world and its resources. So what we see very often is this Mickey Mouse figure where the economy really predominates the other two dimensions. And to make that tangible, I was just thinking, you know, let's take an example we all can relate to. For instance, a t-shirt. Right? When we buy a t-shirt, it might have been produced in Bangladesh. It will have quite interesting margins for the company producing it, but the cotton is probably not sustainably grown. The dyes used for the t-shirt might be left into rivers, polluting water resources for nearby communities, thereby neglecting the environmental aspect. And if we think about the social pillar, which would mean that all workers will get salaries that allow them to have decent living and no child labor and social security, that might not be the case in many areas of the world. At the same time, we do need services and products, and there are very many successful examples. If we think, for instance, of the Opaline juice from the Valais, which is sourced locally, very low transport, recycled containers, employing people locally with decent salaries. So it is possible to bring these three pillars together, but it is very challenging for sure.
Yeah, I guess.
So one of the not so good news is that if we continue with our current lifestyles, we will right now use 1.75 planets. The last time that we were using resources in a sustainable way was in 1971. And as you can see on the graph, resource use overcharging the planet's carrying capacity have been increasing. And we have now what's called the Earth Overshoot Day, which was in July 2019. Interestingly, last year, which was the COVID year, it fell on 22nd of August 2020, so almost a year later. And what this basically means is that we are living on credit. We are using resources and using the planet's carrying capacity beyond what it is able to provide us. And if we continue with current population growth, by 2050, we would actually need 4 planets to sustain our current lifestyles. So that is pretty worrying news. If we continue on the same track of what we would call maybe more worrying news, climate change, obviously, global warming. The Paris Agreement of 2015 was aiming to remain within a global warming of 1.5 degrees. And we can see that even with current pledges and agreements that have been concluded, we are looking at increases that range 2.6, 2.1 degrees by the year 2100, which is when my kids will hopefully still be alive. And that is extremely worrying of the consequences it will have in the north, especially Switzerland, but also in the south. If we combine that with the concept of the 9 planetary boundaries, which basically is a concept that was developed by Johan Brostrom, that means there are 9 crucial biophysical and chemical boundaries within which humanity needs to evolve and not surpass them in order to endanger our own survival. We can see that out of those 9, 4 have already been reached or surpassed, including climate change, land use, nitrogen, phosphorus cycle, and of course, biodiversity extinction. A few years back, we were losing 1 to 5 species per year, and this has now accelerated to a rhythm of losing 1,000 to 10,000 species per year, which, as you know, there are many keystone and flagship species among them that we need in order to survive, bees being one of the most well-known ones.
Okay, so if I understand well, if we do nothing, we are going to an environmental disaster that is endangering our very own life support system. So what are the strategies put in place? Is there any agenda to tackle these issues?
Yes, so at the global level in the year 2000, the world came together under the United Nations to form the Millennium Development Goals, which was the Global Development Agenda. And in 2015, this turned into the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah, precisely. And this SDG seems to be a really important notion for sustainability. And what we wanted to do is to see if the EPFL community know the SDGs. So basically we went on the campus to ask students this question, and I think we can watch together the answers because it was quite interesting.
ODD non, ça me dit rien. Non. Non.
Non.
Ouais, ça me parle. J'ai déjà entendu quelque part, mais...
J'ai entendu quelque part.
Ouais, mais je pourrais pas trop dire...
C'est l'objectif du développement durable.
Yes. Ouais, c'est ça.
Well, we can see that this notion is not is not known enough. So can you tell us more about it?
Yes, so what's really interesting about the Sustainable Development Goals, it is really the first time the world came together with 189 heads of state signing off on those goals, agreeing that this is where the world should head forward, bringing together the social, the economic and environmental dimensions of development to go towards a planet that is environmentally sustainable while providing decent living to all its communities. I think what's really interesting also is that shift between the Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals, because in 2015, or until 2015, the MDGs, they applied very largely to the developing and emerging countries, whereas now, if we look at the SDGs, they apply as much to Switzerland as to another country in the developing world. If we look at it, for instance, SDG 12, responsible consumption, we know we consume too much, we use too much energy, we need to transition to renewable sources. If we look at SDG 5, gender equality, I think especially in Switzerland, we are still very far away from an ideal situation. So they consist of 169 targets and 232 indicators measuring progress towards achieving them. To be honest, we are on track for very few of them because they are, as the concept of sustainable development we were talking before, juggling those three balls at the global level, answering all these 17 goals is a real challenge. But to have that agenda is a huge achievement and something extremely positive.
Okay.
So if we look at their potential, if nothing happens, then we will continue to have high emissions, very elevated global warming and a grey earth in consequence. If some of them are achieved, then we're still in the orange zone. And if all of them are achieved, which is actually one of the grounding principles of the SDGs, is that you can leave no one and no goal behind. That means you have to push the whole agenda forward at the same time for everybody, which is extremely challenging, but that's also the idea. And if we manage to do that, we should have a climate resilient planet eventually.
Okay, so if we succeed in putting so much effort to set international targets, why could it be so difficult to reach them?
That's a very good question. And I think let's just there are many different challenges at different levels. At the national level, because the SDGs need to be integrated into national development plans, there is not one agency at the global level that will help implement these SDGs in every country. And that means you need huge resources, financial resources. And even though many have been pledged, there are still trillions of dollars that are missing in order to implement the projects that would allow us to actually achieve those objectives. Another aspect that we have talked about before is that there are trade-offs to be made between the SDGs, and countries are run by politicians, and politicians, they want to be elected or re-elected, and very often that means they will put economic growth in front of everything else. So that is certainly one of the key challenges, that the economic and the social dimensions are being neglected. And I'm sorry, we
are
have
just
many.
asking if everything is fine.
Everything is fine. We have many. Oh, okay. We are juggling with so many different technical platforms and
at
softwares.
Least to show that we are live and we are not lying.
We are so live that I hope you can feel with us. All right.
So yeah, we were on the difficulties to achieve these SDGs, and there is so many different SDGs that I guess we have to do trade-offs between them.
Exactly. Let's look at a concrete example.
Okay.
As I was saying before, if you want to create employment, you want to lift people out of poverty, you support innovation and infrastructure, well, that means you will have more CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions, and therefore affecting SDG 13 and increasing your energy use. So there's really a balance of what you can do, accompanying infrastructure development while being assured the energy drawn comes from renewable resources. And this is very difficult to do. So those trade-offs, they need to be negotiated, they need to be made transparent, and that is not such an easy feat to accomplish. If we look at another example, which really applies sort of to the northern countries right now, which is debated intensely, are electric vehicles. So on the positive side, it stimulates industry and innovation. On the other hand, we still haven't tackled the challenge of how to recycle batteries, how to lower the resources needed to produce them. So you will have trade-offs and negative effects between SDGs 9, 11, 13, as opposed to 12 and 10. So those trade-offs have been analyzed in a very detailed manner. There are positive synergies, there are trade-offs to be made, and I guess the world just has to navigate our way towards doing the best in order to bring all those goals forward at the same time in order to transition to a more sustainable world.
Yeah, and I understand that the trade-off make the transition really complex, but it seems so challenging. Do we have some good news to have some hope for the future?
I think there is some good news. I mean, I remember in 2015, there was so much cause for optimism. The Sustainable Development Goals have been voted in. We had the Paris Agreement on climate change that was adopted. We had the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction that was adopted. So there is a lot of political will that is good. For sure, we also have the fact that the importance of the environment and sustainable development and climate action really has been integrated by people into their consciousness. And if you look at surveys, it's usually part of their 3 to 5 most important priorities. And what does that mean? That means that there is more pressure on politicians to integrate sustainable development issues into their own agenda. So this is certainly good news. There are more organizations, there are better laws, and there is a global call for action on climate for sure. So not everything is bad news.
Okay, this is good to know. It's already a lot of information, and I would like to remember to the people that are watching this that you can ask a question at any time on the SpeakUp platform. So I will say it again, just download the app on your phone or go to web.speakup.info, and you will just have to enter the number that you see at the bottom of your screen. 43857. I told you that we wanted to make this event as participative as possible, so we gave the opportunity to the student on the campus to ask you a direct question. So we recorded their question and we are going to look at them together now.
Madame la conférencière, comment pensez-vous qu'on pourrait donner un vrai sens à la durabilité dans notre société qui est sans cesse à la recherche de l'évolution, de la performance, et tout tourne autour de la croissance et du développement. Comment réconcilier la durabilité et notre société en pleine croissance et qui va vers la croissance?
Donc ma question serait de savoir comment est-ce qu'on peut faire en sorte que l'économie vaille avec et non à l'encontre de la durabilité pour qu'on puisse arriver au but nécessaire.
Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas une opposition entre la transition écologique et la nature humaine qui pousse insensiblement l'humain à évoluer?
C'est bon? Ok. Du coup, comment est-ce qu'à l'échelle d'une personne, on peut impacter la durabilité?
Du coup, j'aimerais savoir comment est-ce que je pourrais agir sur la durabilité plus tard dans ma vie professionnelle, même si mon métier s'y prête pas forcément.
N'est-ce pas paradoxal de vanter de plus en plus la technologie en passant par le big data, la 5G et autres? Ne faudrait-il pas plutôt viser une sobriété numérique avant de parler d'écologie? Voilà.
Donc j'aimerais savoir qu'est-ce qu'au quotidien on peut faire en tant qu'individu et pas seulement en tant qu'ingénieur ou personne du gouvernement pour améliorer la durabilité.
Est-ce que la prise de décision politique forte, telle par exemple l'interdiction de l'importation de viande qui provient de l'extérieur de la Suisse, pourrait avoir des conséquences favorables sur la durabilité?
Est-ce que vous pensez que la dépendance de l'électronique et de l'informatique dans nos sociétés est compatible avec la question de la durabilité?
Alors pour tout ce qui est de ces questions de durabilité, il y a énormément de responsabilités qui pèsent sur l'individu et le citoyen, mais jusqu'à quel point nos actions peuvent avoir de réelles conséquences et où est-ce que s'arrête notre responsabilité et commence celle de plus grands ensembles comme des corporations ou des gouvernements.
Well, these questions are really vast, and unfortunately we won't have the time to answer to all of them, but we can see three main questions from this video. First, the economy appeared to be the main drag on sustainability. One said, how can we ensure that the economy works with and not against sustainability?
Yes, for sure. As we have seen with the Mickey Mouse figure, the economy has a lot of weight in the negative sense, but it can also indicate that this is where the leverage power is towards more sustainable systems. So I think one of the key realizations that we have to communicate to everybody is that you cannot have unlimited economic growth on a finite planet. That is just completely impossible. And I'm not an economist, so there's many people who know much more about this than I do. But what I really liked when I listened to Kate Raworth, who's the author of the Donut Economics, when she said, the current image of economics today is like it's a Peter Pan economics. It doesn't want to grow up. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And we really have come to the point where it needs to grow up and change. And I think one way to look at this is that we shift from an economic system that benefits a few shareholders and increases the wealth of CEOs, is going towards what we were calling a regenerative economic system that emphasizes the fact that the value it is creating is being distributed to communities all over the world and not being concentrated in the hands of a few. If we look back over the last 20 years, unless I'm mistaken, 50% of the global wealth that was created went to the wealthiest 1% of the world population. And just instinctively, you realize that is just not possible. So there unfortunately is no blueprint of how we change the global economic system, because if there was, we would have done it already, I think. So it's probably a situation where the solution will come from many different stakeholders at many different levels. So for sure, at one level, governments need to adapt and revise their taxes and incentives and subsidies, to make it very tangible. When you build a house, well, you will get subsidies so that you will have a PV installation on your roof so that you can feed the energy into your own household. If we are aware of perverse subsidies that favor fossil fuels, well, we need to step away from that. So supporting corporations also through public procurement that reuse and reduce and recycle and sort of go as closely as possible to circular economy systems. That is certainly one of the paths that we must choose. At the same time, there are many companies and corporations, they know that if they want to survive and continue to be successful, they need to adapt. Right. And so it's in their own interest to become more sustainable. And then I mean, lastly, us as consumers, our choices have a lot of influence. You know, where do I spend my money? How do I buy my goods? Am I looking at the carbon footprint of that company? Am I looking at their sustainability strategy? Do I buy Gore-Tex vest that has been made out of recycled material? Is that important to me? And this is also how you shift market forces towards more sustainable companies and give them preference. This is really important.
Okay, and you're making a perfect transition for the next question. We saw 3 people on the video talking about the individual action that one can do to have a more sustainable behavior. Can you tell us more about this?
I think as individuals, again, it really is a question of where you give your power that is aligned with your values. So if you think about yourself, you know, what is it that I want? Do I want to have as much money as possible, the biggest car as possible, or do I want to have more time? Do I want to make sure that my kids will see the glaciers when they grow up? And then act accordingly. I mean, you know, look at the political programs of parties and choose the one that puts climate action and sustainability to the forefront. If you look at what you're going to eat, use labels, use Marine Stewardship Council, Forestry Stewardship Council, look at Rainforest Alliance, look at fair trade, look at bio-labels, and choose the products that are aligned with those priorities that are important to you. And as a citizen taking this even further, you can see now the impact that we have with the movement that was initiated by Greta Thunberg. You know, go to the streets and protest and ask the public authorities for what you want, so that you get that. And lastly, a really important point is where do you give your financial power? You know, right now, I mean, students, we might not have that much money, but if you take your money away from global big banks who still invest in fossil fuels and give them to smaller banks who invest in socioeconomic and ecological projects, you are also giving the power there where the world will more easily transition into a more sustainable path. And I think this is key. You know, you have your own responsibility as much as corporations, as much as public authorities.
Okay, so I understand that we can do a lot in our personal life, but what about the professional life? There is one question from the video that said, how can I actually later in my professional life act on sustainability, even if my job does not lend itself to it?
Okay, well, I think if sustainability is important to you, you know, then while you build your career or while you're being a student, then make it a priority. If you have to choose your student project, well, take a project that is related to sustainability. When you choose your internship, you know EPFL has sustainability tagged internships, so take one of those. Participate in the Climate Action and Sustainability Week, join associations that focus on sustainability, and therefore I think you acquire the skills that you will need in order to qualify for a job that will enable you to be one of the change makers pushing sustainability forward. And if you end up in a company that is not oriented or nor aligned with sustainability, well, ask for their sustainability policies, you know, make them feel the pressure. If you want to have a highly qualified employee who will give his or her energy and creativity to this company, then they will need to have a very solid and serious sustainability strategy. And lastly, I think this is really important. You know, you need to feel passionate about what you do. And if you end up in a job that you don't like for a company you don't appreciate, then you do really need to change that so that you are aligned with your passion and help to make this world a better place. Okay, I think this is a really good advice. Now, I think we can answer the question to the audience. And last time I will say it, if you didn't have the opportunity to ask a question, connect now to the Speak Up platform. You just download the app on your phone, or you go to web.speakup.info and enter the number that you see on the screen, 43857. So we can already see some question. First, I will ask you, what is the role of technology in sustainable development? Very good question, being at EPFL. For sure, technologies are key. I mean, if we think, you know, about the potential of blockchain technology, for instance, there's this one example that I like very much. It's about sustainable fishing of tuna, and it's called From Bait to Plate. So in order to make sure that the tuna that is served to you on a plate that is called, that was supposedly fished sustainably, it's a WWF project in Australia, unless I'm mistaken. Well, from the time this fish is caught until it lands on your plate somewhere in a restaurant in Geneva, each transaction, each step is followed by blockchain technology. So that technology has a lot of potential also in providing, access to financing services in the remote areas, etc. However, technology has that potential to help. But at the same time, we need to think about what's behind technology. What blockchain technology uses a lot of energy. So that energy needs to come from renewable resources. Otherwise, again, you use technology, but you will draw on resources in an unsustainable way. But for sure, EPFL and other technological universities have a very important role to play in order to bring populations the services they need to develop the products in a sustainable way, to bring them to scale also, and not just remain on the prototype, but really transfer that scientific knowledge out into the world through startups, through partnering with large corporations, and help them implement those technological solutions that will help us shift towards a more sustainable world.
Okay, good. And we have a second question that is asking, actually, how can we, there is a need to implement the SDGs, but how can we implement them so that the people doesn't feel like a restriction of their own freedom?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. If we go back on why the SDGs were developed, which is basically increasing the chances that we will save the planet in the long term. So how would following the SDGs limit your own personal freedom if it ensures your own personal survival? So I would have to sort of discuss this question with the person who has asked it, because what you conceive as limiting your own personal freedom.
For example, we can take an example. It gives an example for the sustainable consumption. You cannot force someone to not eat meat. So how can we present the goals so they are not felt like a restriction of freedom? Okay.
I don't think it says anywhere in the Sustainable Development Goals that you should not eat any meat. I think if it's important to you to eat meat, and if we look at the example of Switzerland, if you eat meat that was that comes from a farm, from a local farm close to where you live, where the dairy herds are held in a sustainable manner. The beef is bio beef. There is no bigger negative environmental effects by growing that beef. Then you can provide income to a local farmer who might sustain biodiversity in his or her fields through biological agriculture, and that is a good thing. So it depends on how you act, right? How you choose to consume, basically, and that would be responsible consumption, even though it is meat.
Okay. Another question comes from a student, so I guess from EPFL. What is the best way for students to contribute to SDGs?
The best way for students at EPFL to contribute to the SDGs? Well, I would say, I'm going to repeat a little bit what I said before. So EPFL is undoubtedly one of the best universities in the world, training highly talented and bright students. And so when I teach my students and when I interact with them, which I enjoy fully, I really like that. I think they have so much potential to become change makers, in whatever they engage in. If they become a social entrepreneur, they have the technical skills, the engineering skills, the scientific background in order to make a real impact and to engage in technological solutions that address the SDGs at any level. This can be at the level of energy, this can be in biodiversity conservation, this can be water sanitation, whatever, but really use their competence and their skill and their training in order to help change the world, to become better, for sure.
Okay. And I think this is the last question. How can we convince people who are not interested at all about sustainability to have a more sustainable lifestyle?
Well, so you just gave me the very tricky question.
They are all tricky. I couldn't choose better.
Okay. Oh, that's a very difficult question.
This is what we are trying to do tonight, to introduce the key concepts so the people can have in mind this key concept and understand a bit what is behind the word sustainability. But then if the people doesn't seem to be interested, is it just that they don't know the concept, or there is a way to present them so they can better understand it? Or?
Well, I think every human being is different, right?
Yeah.
There is, again, no blueprint. And I think it would be very hard to convince somebody. You know, one thing you can do is you can present information and statistics. And if that person wants to have a family, then I think it's in his or her own interest to be convinced about the necessity for more sustainable development. It's very hard to say, oh, you know what, that's just the normal evolution of the world and we're all going to die and that's fine, and have kids who actually do want to have a future. So I think that attitude would be very hard to explain. For me, I think sustainable development and climate action is so central to our very survival as humanity in these times. It's very hard for me to hear that people might just not be interested in sustainable development as a concept. So in information, education. What we have seen actually really interestingly is that over the past years, even though there were all these scientific facts coming out that show, you know, there is global warming, there is biodiversity conservation. So it's really urgent. We have to act. And for some reason, there's specialists who know much more about this than I do. The human brain is configured in a way that we react to instant gratification, you know, instead of long-term rewards. So if I want to take my car because I want to drive to the sea to go to the beach, well, that is just in immediate reach. Whereas I think, oh, I shouldn't take it because in 20 years the glaciers should still be there. So the obstacles for behavioral change are very intricate, and it would be really interesting if you could get a specialist talking about this topic for one of your future events here. But I don't think you can nor threaten, nor frighten, nor convince people. They need to come to the realizations by their own means that this is really important.
Okay, so maybe we can take as a takeaway the fact that we have to do scientific popularization and explain kindly and not make the people feel guilty. Just explain and they will understand by themselves. Okay, Silvia, thank you very much for this presentation and all this answer. We learned a lot tonight. So I hope that you will have a good evening and that I will see you in another event.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and good luck with the future events.
Thank you. Well, time is running and this is such a pity because we could have talked during hours of sustainability. And we are coming almost to the end, but before, I would like to invite all the participants to answer to some question for us. Actually, we are doing right now a live feedback session because it's really important for us to have some feedback to modify this event and make it so it answers the needs of the EPFL community in the best way. So I will invite you to connect on Slido. So same than before, go on slido.com and connect. Normally you will see right now a live poll asking who you are. So are you a citizen of the world, or are you part of the EPFL UNIL community, the academic community? Are you a professor, a PhD, a student, or an EPFL UNIL collaborator? Normally we can see the answer live. So for now we have students that are still connected. Please don't be shy, tell us who you are. Okay, so we still have 3 answers. Maybe 3 answers, this is the total amount of the people that are still connected. 5 answers, nice. 6. Okay, for now we are only students. 7, 9, 10. We have 1 citizen, this is cool. Okay, EPFL UNIL collaborator, nice. It is really important for us because we we don't want to address this event only to students, but really the entire EPFL UNIL community and even beyond, so we can all understand what is sustainability and what we can do all together to change it, and maybe participate to create a better future. We even have one PhD. This is really good to know. I hope that you are doing a PhD on sustainability. Okay. Really good. We have 25 answers. So it means that some people stayed until the end. Thank you very much for staying with us, even if we had some technical issues. Okay, really good. I think that we can go on the next poll. Which language do you prefer? For us, it's important to know which language is more appropriated for this event, because we want to express ourselves in a way that everything we say could be understood. So you can answer English, French, or actually both. And maybe we will do one event in English, one even in French. Okay, we have 14 answers for now. And we can see that for the audience, it's quite diverse. Okay, there is an equality on the result. Maybe some answer more. I think it's going to be really difficult for us to choose after that. Okay. Well, since the majority is in English, I guess that the next event will also be in English. Let's move to the third question. Was the content presented in a clear way for you? Actually here, 0 star or 1 star mean that it was too easy. Too simplistic, we went too superficial and you wanted to know more. 5 star mean that it was too complicated, but this is okay. What we wanted to do is that 3 star was perfect. It was adequate, and the content is what we wanted to present in a clear way that is not too easy, not too difficult. So maybe people in the beginning wanted to say 5 star to say that it was really presented in a clear way. Okay, anyway, now we see a kind of Gaussian. Okay, thank you very much. And finally, last question, the most important of all. What do you want to... what did you like in this event? This is not the last question, sorry, mistake from me. What did you like about this event? You can type whatever you want. It can be a speaker, it can be one of the interactive part of the event, it can be the topic. Just pick something that you like about this event and that you would like us to do again for the next event. Clear explanation, cool. Silvia, apparently you did some really clear explanation. Interactive part, the topic. Silvia is amazing. Well, you have some fun, apparently. All, but maybe too many platforms. Yeah, maybe this is a feedback that we have to take. Okay, the speaker is incredible and inspiring. Thank you. Quality of the speaker, nice visual, supportive slide, nice setup. Thank you very much. The setup was a bit difficult to set up, but actually it's good to know that you like it. Platform, speaker, the format, the Q&A. Okay, thank you very much. The content and the concrete example. Okay, interactive tools are nice. Super cool. Well, thank you very much for all this answer. Okay, being interactable through the platform. Okay, it means that the interactivity during events are really appreciated. Good. Use just one platform. Maybe this is a good advice that you have to think about. The speaker interactive part. It was perfect. This is really kind of you. Thank you very much.
That's a lie.
That's a lie? We all know it, but thank you anyway. That you talked about inaction of government. Well, this is one of the subjects. Not the only one, but this is one. Tech problems are part of the game. Yeah. It is. Too many platforms, a little bit trouble at the start, we know. We are going to modify it. Okay, cool. And maybe now we can go on the last question. Nice chairs. Yes, this is the one from the Galactic Chloe show. I invite you to watch it also. Last question, but I guess that is the most important of all. What would you like to learn in our next event? We are currently choosing the topic for the next event. This first one was really understanding what is sustainability generally, but is there any sustainability topic that you heard about and that is not clear for you? So we can have the opportunity to present it to you in a more clear way. What is impact investing? Okay, the EPFL project for the SDGs. Oh, okay, I guess the community of EPFL want to know if EPFL are doing some project. Maybe sustainable project. I mean that you would like us to pick a sustainable project and explain how it is sustainable. It could be an idea. Policies, yeah. Or diet and its impact, of course. It can be anything actually. It can be on circular economy, it can be on climate, on energy. Just answer something that you have in mind. The resources, okay, yeah. We saw it a bit with the planetary limits, but I think that we can do an entire episode on it. Okay, we had a lot of answers now. Civil uprising movement. Yeah, it would be nice to have Greta Thunberg here. Sustainable jobs. More concrete examples. Okay, circular economy. Good to know. Current policy limits. Okay. Okay, current policy limits. I got it. Economy and sustainability. Okay, the link between both. To change things. How to change things? How to create a change? Actually, yeah, it could be one of the speakers that you talk about. We can interview him on the behavioral change, how we can make a change in the mind of people. Okay, sociological aspect. Yeah, it go in this sense. Promising project. Capitalism constraint. Okay, a lot of suggestions that are linked to economy. Okay, well. Plastic waste gestion, okay. Sustainability and resilience. Really good. The donut model. Actually, we could do an episode on the donut model. Yeah. The growth. Okay, yeah, because we are assuming the capitalist model is running now, but we could interview other models of economy that exist or could exist. Okay, well, thank you very much for this input, and I think this is really relevant for us to have all this notion that we could treat in a other episode. Well, we are coming now to the end. This is it. I would like to thank all the person that made this event possible, even if we had some difficulties. Thank you to the EPFL Tech4Impact team. Thanks to the GEHT team. Thanks to the Service Audiovisuel of EPFL. Thanks to our speaker, Ursula and Silvia. Thank you very much. And most importantly, thanks to you. Thanks to you, the participants, who stayed with the technical problem, and for you listening and your involvement during the impact. This video was recorded and will be available on Tech4Impact and GEHT website and YouTube channel. And actually, Silvia did a list of resources for you if you are interested to know more about sustainability. Can you tell us a bit more about one example of this resource?
Yeah, sure. So it's a list of references related to sustainability. It's a list of videos. There are some simulators, climate action tracker. And I think one of the really cool ones is called gapminder.org, and you can simulate different models, but you can also hit a button that says, I think, upgrade your worldview, and it will ask you questions. For instance, what's the percentage of people having access to clean drinking water, to shelter, how many companies are headed by female CEOs, etc. And it's pretty addictive because you choose your answer. It's multiple choice, then you either get a lot of stars or you get the actual answer, why what you chose is not correct, and so on. So I could really encourage you to go and have a look. And also, that's actually something I wanted to not to forget, is there's a link to a massive open online course. It's called The Age of Sustainable Development, offered by Professor Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University, New York. And I think it's one of the best MOOCs currently online offered. So do go have a look and take the time if you're interested in this topic.
Okay, thank you very much. I invite everybody to see this resource. There is a link in the description of the video, but we are running live now, so I think we will repost the link when the video will be published. Okay, then to be notified of our next event, just follow us on social media. When we will post the video on YouTube, we will also put all the links related to Tech4Impact social media and Global Earth Horizon Talk social media.